This is the ASUS Transformer Book, and it currently runs Windows 8. So naturally, we need to install Linux on this thing. Yeah, it's been a little while since we had a good old-fashioned ramming Linux into a device that has no place running it, and today we are back at that with this ASUS Transformer Book. I didn't have the ASUS Transformer Book, the one that runs Windows, when this came out, but I did have the Android version of the same kind of style. They were essentially looked the same, but one had an x86 Atom processor in it, this one, and then in the I'm pretty sure the Android version had NVIDIA's Tegra processors in them, pretty sure. But nonetheless, we're here today to look at the x86 version and see about installing Linux. We did recently install Linux on a Surface RT tablet, which is one of those NVIDIA Tegra chips. So that went okay, but we were missing a lot of driver support. I'm expecting this to go a little bit better because it's a full x86 system. It's a quad-core Atom processor, so it's not a very fast processor, but we do at least have those extra cores. 2 gigabytes of RAM, which again isn't massive, but under Linux should be okay, and is kind of from that era of Windows 8 convertible touchscreen tablet laptop things that kind of got abandoned and never really saw it past Windows 8. I'm sure you could force Windows 10 onto this thing, but even then, with that 2 gigabytes of RAM, it's not really an experience I'd want to have. And with it currently having Windows 8 on it, it's kind of useless as far as I'm concerned. There's not a huge amount that you can do with it. Yeah, of course, you could install software and stuff, and there are probably ports for that still support Windows 8 and all sorts of that sort of stuff. But from a security standpoint, from a usability standpoint, I would much rather install Linux. So today we are going to look at installing MX Linux specifically, because I feel like it's going to be a very good, lightweight distro for this system. There is a problem with this system, and this is a problem we've faced before, specifically with one of the original Intel Mac Minis. And that is that, yes, the CPU in here is a 64-bit CPU. However, the BIOS and its kind of boot system is a 32-bit boot system. So it has to boot through a 32-bit system to then go into 64-bit, which is very convoluted, very silly, and very annoying. And it does mean a lot of modern Linux distros just don't really support that anymore. I'm pretty sure, for example, Ubuntu won't boot on here without you having to like patch the Ubuntu installer to support that kind of setup. However, I do believe that MX Linux should work. So let's just have a quick look around the device. Let's just check it out, and then let's get some Linux installed and see just how usable this thing is in 2026. Okay, so this is the tablet slash 2-in-1 laptop thing in all its glory. And yes, we are running Windows 8, which is very sad for it, but nonetheless, it's fine. It's actually pretty snappy under Windows 8. And because this is an x86 system, you can install software and stuff. So, like, I'm sure there's actually quite a lot you could do with Windows 8. I just do not want to do that and very much want to get Linux on this. So, yeah, we're not going to do that. But anyway, let's have a little look around the device itself. So it does have a basic keyboard kind of thing. So it is a tablet in one regard. And having a look around the tablet, you've got its docking port along the bottom for that board system. Around the other side is some buttons. You've got volume rocker, and I think this is acts as a Windows key. Yeah, so that acts as the Windows key. You've got your power button along the top, and then around this side you have got a micro USB port and a micro HDMI port, along with a 3.5 jack as well. And I think that's also a micro SD card slot. So actually a fair amount of I/O on this thing. Certainly more than anything that you would get on a tablet these days. But then on the dock itself, like I say, you just dock it in, clips, you press this button down to undock it. But when you have got it docked, you do also get one full-sized USB port, which is pretty cool. But that's about it. That's all you get on there. And then other than that, you've got this keyboard, which isn't bad. It's kind of small. The keys are a bit small, but still kind of usable. Little tiny trackpad, again, pretty small. And I will say that the system is getting pretty hammered just by running. Like, I've not got anything running on this, In fact, yeah, that's all the extra AMD, all the extra ASUS stuff. This is still from a generation where there's a lot of bloatware installed. And the result is I've not installed anything. This is literally the fresh reset. 1.6 gigabytes is being used RAM-wise. The CPU is kind of fluctuating and the disk usage is quite heavy. This is, again, this is eMMC storage. It's not the fastest storage in the world. It's not great. It's only 32 gigabytes as well. But it's getting pretty hammered. Yeah, specifically that RAM usage is kind of crazy. So yeah, not the best setup for such a restricted system. So naturally, we are going to install Linux and MX Linux specifically. Now, there are probably a few things to talk about here. Firstly, of course, you need to disable secure boot, which I've already done. You can actually kind of see down here it says secure boot isn't configured correctly. But I've already disabled secure boot. And the other thing I found is some people were complaining that if you try and use the full-size USB port on the dock and the machine can disconnect like during the boot process. So that doesn't necessarily work very well. So instead, I've got myself a micro USB adapter to a full-size USB, and then I've got my pen drive plugged into that. That's a USB 2.0 pen drive as well, just to try and reduce any compatibility issues. And we'll just basically plug that in and see if we can then boot up into Linux and get it installed. So to boot into the boot menu, you hold down the power button and smash the escape key, and that should bring us up the boot menu. There we go. So we've got our Windows Boot Manager, and then we have our pen drive detected. So hopefully we can boot straight into that. And yep, straight into the MX Linux boot menu, which is brilliant. So we will boot up MX Linux and we will get into there. I'm just going to rearrange the camera now because you don't need to see the keyboard, but you do want to see the screen.
Okay, so it's been a little while. I've tried to get the MX Linux installer working, but, you know, for some reason, I just got a blank screen once we boot past Grub. So here we are. We are going to install Debian 12 instead. Rock solid, basic Linux distribution, which is kind of perfect for this system as well. And does still get security updates, so we're good for another 2 years of security updates with this. It's boot straight into the graphics installer, no problem at all. Mouse works, all that sort of jazz. So let's get this installed, and yeah, let's try out some Debian.
Okay, so it took a while, a good half an hour to install, and it took quite a while to boot up as well, like a few minutes. So it's definitely not the fastest file system in the world. It's definitely not going to break any kind of awards there, but it is now working. It is also, of course, the most reflective screen in the world, so that's a little bit annoying as well, but let's at least maybe see if we can turn up the brightness a little bit. It's as full as bright as it's going to go. Brilliant. Okay, well, we'll try. Anyway, we're all installed, and I must say, just kind of having a brief look around the system, a bit of a play, installed a few things. It's very snappy. It's completely usable. It's a brilliant example of using a lightweight Linux distribution to really breathe some life into perfectly functional hardware that's just been left behind by the software. So if we have a look in the task manager, we can see that we are using about 600 megabytes, about a third of the RAM kind of just running this thing. So yeah, I mean, you know, 2 gigabytes of RAM is still 2 gigabytes of RAM. It's still going to be a slightly problematic, but it's working. And you know, again, if you just needed a small device to be able to kind of maybe access the terminal and SSH into your own servers or do other things like that, no problem here at all. In fact, you could run it without the Windows Manager and without XFCE, and you would have even more resources available to you. But I think this is kind of on the cusp of actually still quite usable as a GUI, as a machine with an actual graphics interface. For example, we can fire up Firefox, which in its, you know, in all fairness, does take a minute to load up, but it works. It runs really quite snappily, actually, especially if you're just kind of doing one thing at a time. You know, it's not a multitasking beast here, but you know, Wikipedia is loading perfectly fine. We could definitely dive into some articles. It loads reasonably well. Scrolling's pretty snappy. Yeah, for basic web browsing, no problem at all. I'd go as far as to say we could probably actually get some YouTube going here. So let's pop over to the channel. And again, yeah, I would say compared to some devices that we've installed on, this is actually a pretty decent experience here. And this isn't really a distro known for its optimization. It's just Debian. It's just rock solid, is what it is kind of situation. But, you know, if we jump on a video here and let's see if we can actually get some video playback working. So of course we have to ignore the adverts. I've always been a big fan of handheld gaming consoles, emulators, all that sort of stuff. In fact, I have a whole shelf of them up there. But one type I've never really looked at is Android-powered handheld consoles. So today we're going to change that. We're going to take a look. We're going to take a look at the Ambernic RG406H. Not sure I trust it. Not because of the company particularly. I think Ambernic is pretty respectable. So yeah, 720p, it's pushing it a little bit for watching videos, but it's running at 480p, no problem at all. Yeah, okay, those speakers are nothing to talk about, but it works. It's functional. This actually, you could actually just sit and watch YouTube videos on this thing. And with the screen resolution the size that it is, 420p doesn't look that bad. It's certainly viewable. Yeah, again, really impressed, like I say, that we are just kind of on the cusp here of a machine that is actually still kind of usable in 2026. I guess because it has got a quad-core CPU, 2 gigabytes of RAM, you know, it's pushing it a little bit, but it's still functional. In fact, we can probably play some games. So, of course, naturally, we are going to load up Half-Life on here, and let's see if it's playable.
Good morning, and welcome to the Black Mesa Transit System. This automated train is provided for the security and convenience of the Black Mesa Research Facility personnel. The time is 8:47 a.m. Current topside temperature is 93 degrees, with an estimated high of 105. The Black Mesa compound is maintained at a pleasant 68 degrees at all times.
Well, there you have it. This is running Half-Life. No real problem at all. I will say it took a long time for Steam to load up. But yeah, really happy with this. Completely playable. Nice and smooth. So there we have it. Debian up and running on this little tablet. And yeah, genuinely, honestly, pretty usable in 2026. Really happy with that. It's taken something that was kind of dead, to be honest, and not at all usable, and made it something that, at the very least, I could play Half-Life on, so I'm happy with that, but also, you know, browse the web, do anything command line-y that I'd want to do. Really happy with that, and happy that it kind of just worked out of the box. Definitely took a while for it to boot up and everything, but seems to all be working really well now. I would say, yeah, in terms of distros that work, I think mileage will vary. MX Linux didn't work. I know Ubuntu doesn't work out of the box. Like I say, you have to modify the bootloader stuff. So, yeah, a little bit of a mixed bag because of that whole 32-bit boot system versus, or firmware versus the 64-bit CPU. But, yeah, if you're looking for just a basic Linux distribution, Debian does the job, as proven here. And yeah, generally really happy with that. Bringing back to life another piece of hardware for general use and just having fun with it. Really happy. So there we go. We're going to wrap this video up here for today. Thank you very much for watching. As always, if you have enjoyed the video, please do hit that like button and subscribe. And I'll see you again for another video very soon. Bye for now.